In American culture, one of the most often asked questions is this: what do you do? Now, I used to hate to answer that question for a lot of reasons, none of which I'll get into now. However, now I love to answer that question. In fact, I actually try to get people to ask me. So what changed? Well, simply this. You see, most people, or at least most of the people that I've met, when they're asked that question, they tend to answer it with their current job description. You see, I used to do the same thing, hence the reason for dreading the question. I really hated getting that question on airplanes. Now when people ask me this question, I simply smile because I can now answer it with a lifestyle description rather than with a job title. So go ahead, ask me what I do. No, really, ask me what I do. Because what I do is I throw darts and make money. What? Am I some kind of dart throwing champion? Of course not. I literally throw darts and make money. And you should see the look on people's faces when I say that. It's the same look that I get every time. You see, throwing darts and making money is not a job, therefore the brain just can't seem to handle it. So the next question that comes out of their mouth is this: okay, Jimmy, I'm confused. How do you throw darts and make money exactly? Well, this is when I tell people that I teach a trading system called the DartThrow Trader Insider Program. The what? The DartThrow Trader Insider Program. Oh, this I've got to hear. Now, in order for you to truly understand what others have already called the most innovative and on-purpose trading program ever attempted by mortal man, you need to understand this particular training program's history. You see, this program is actually the end result of two very separate experiences that I had with two very specific students. The first experience began in 1996 and concluded 10 years later in 2006. The second was a simple 3-minute conversation in 2005. So I guess we'll start at the beginning, and we'll start with Paul. You see, I met Paul in Chicago, 1996, at an event that I was teaching. Paul spent most of his time during this particular 3-day class in the last row, and he was taking furious notes. Now, at each break, Paul would make his way up to the front of the room to ask me a question, or search for clarification, or just listen in to whatever conversation that I was already having with other students. You see, Paul was like many students that I've met over the years. He was looking for a way out. Looking for a way out of the life that he found himself in. You see, he believed, just like you, that the financial markets provide this path. But at the end of the training event, I made an offer to a class of about 100 students to go and take the next step and join me for the next level of trading. Now, the tuition for this next level was about $3,495, and many of the students obviously accepted my offer and enrolled in the class. Now, after the class had ended, and the registrations were completed and the materials were handed out, and my microphone was turned off, Paul began to walk slowly to the front of the room. His head was hanging low. You see, I watched him walk towards me, and I couldn't help but smile because I knew what he wanted. See, I've met someone like Paul in every class that I've ever taught. You see, Paul was looking for a way out. He knew it, and I knew it. The problem was that at this particular moment in his life, the tuition was just a little bit out of reach. So he approached me to ask the question that I've been asked so many times before. Jimmy, is there any way I can get this education for less? My response was always the same. I wish there was. However, my hands are tied. Since I don't own the company that provides the education, I really have no authority to negotiate the price. And then I would recommend some good books to read, and I would let Paul know that maybe, just maybe, things would be different the next time I was in town. Now, since 1996, I have taught investment classes in Chicago no less than 30 times. I can't say for sure, but I'll bet that Paul attended at least half of those classes during that 10-year period. You know, he would just show up, take notes, ask questions, listen in, basically just immerse himself in the process of education. Now, in 2006, I taught yet another class in Chicago, and as expected, Paul was there. But this time, Paul finally did what he had strived to do for 10 years. He finally took the next step and enrolled in the educational program that I offered. I was so proud of him. I mean, he stuck with it. He worked hard. He took small pieces of knowledge from every source that he could. He put it together, started with a small account, and traded his way to a position where he could finally and comfortably afford the tuition. The problem is, it took him 10 years. Friends, I don't care how you do the math. 10 years is a long time to reach a worthy goal using the financial markets as your income vehicle. I think about Paul every time I do a trade. I think about Paul every time I teach a class. I mean, Paul is really my inspiration for what I'm sharing with you right now, and he doesn't even know it. You see, Paul probably taught me more about life and perseverance than even Wile E. Coyote. The truth of the matter is this. Paul is a phenomenon. You see, it's a shockingly common occurrence. I wonder, I really wonder how often, how many Pauls have I met and didn't recognize? You know, how many Pauls were in my classes but didn't come up and introduce themselves to me? How many Pauls walked out of the experience wanting desperately to get a professional education, but for whatever reason just couldn't afford to do it that day? My next experience occurred in 2004. I was teaching a class in New York City, and I had a student come up and attempt to start an argument with me. Now, his argument in a nutshell was based on his belief that the only way that anyone could make money in the financial markets was if they were right all the time. Are you serious? I had to ask. And of course he indicated that he was. And I began to laugh, and I began to laugh out loud. And the words, they spewed out of my mouth without a hint of regret. Although I can't recall the conversation verbatim, I remember saying something to the effect of, if you know what you're doing, you can simply put the stock quotes on the wall, throw a dart, randomly select the stock, and make money. It's that frickin' simple. Now, of course, he didn't believe me, so I shrugged my shoulders, and I simply said, it's true. So there you go. Somebody doubted me, and I had to prove what I said was true. And that's how this all started. Could I really create a trading system that would allow me to throw a dart, randomly pick a stock, and make money, and at the same time provide a trading system that was worthy of a $30,000 price tag, but only require a fraction of that to actually participate? Well, as they say, there's only one way to find out.